Hi, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode 11 of the Money Talks. We again have an amazing show for you guys tonight.
Hey, Bhavin, how are you?
Hi Anirudh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Let's get into it, Bhavin. Let's talk about a little bit about, we've known each other now coming on 5 years, right? There's been lots of ups, lots of downs between us
Yeah,
and with the company. We've seen been in a heavily regulated space and how you've innovated in that space, how you are growing the company at this point. And let's talk a little bit about that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people logging in who are going to be asking questions, and we'll have some fun with it. Are you ready?
yeah, very much.
So great. Let's start off. Let's talk a little bit about LenDen. What is LenDen? For people that are logging in, they've never actually heard the name LenDenClub, and they're wondering what it really means. What is LenDenClub?
LenDenClub stands for what its name is, Lane and Then. So it's a platform where people exchange money. One who is looking for a loan and the other guy who is having extra money, which they want to deploy to the people who are looking for a money. So in short, we are a quasi-banking platform where a depositor can directly give money to a borrower without getting involvement of a bank or similar platform. So it's one-to-one transaction. For example, if you imagine somebody sitting in Chennai wanted 10, 15, 20,000 rupees for medical requirement, medical urgency in such COVID time, around 20 to 30 different people in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Telangana state, they have been funding this person 500 rupees each, and his loan requirement has been fulfilled and the medical problem has been sorted. So we have created this beautiful system that anybody in India sitting anywhere can get loan from anybody sitting across the country. And we are becoming a capital gateway that anybody who has money can become investor on the platform. And by deploying this money, they can earn quite good returns.
So what are the kind of returns an investor can make?
Generally, over the last 5 years, we have been delivering somewhere between 15 percentage to 17 percentage, average being 16.5 percentage.
Oh wow. But this is microfinance. These are small ticket loans.
This isn't a microfinance. It falls slight above microfinance, but it is given to the people who are generally not covered by mainstream lending institutions like banks and NBFCs. We use technology to assess them, identify them. As I said, it's a beautiful system that somebody sitting in any rural area as well can apply for a loan, and our system assess the borrower using n number of digital parameters. They don't even understand that what kind
Hmm.
of information we gather, and we immediately give them result. So within 24 hours, money gets credited to that account, and that's how we are fulfilling real need of people. A lot of time we are fulfilling their dreams as well.
Wow, 24 hours from the time they apply to the time they get the money. How does
Yes,
that
in a
compare
lot
to
of
other?
cases, it's minutes as well.
Oh wow. And how does that compare maybe to, I mean, are these people able to get these kind of loans from like an HDFC bank or another bank?
So around 50% of the people whom we give loan doesn't have any credit history. 55% of these people doesn't even get credit card from any of the bank or lending institution. And the average loan exposure which our borrower has is mere 10% of their monthly salary, which is very low. If we compare it with urban population or metro city population, where the debt to income obligation goes around 40-45 percentage, 10% is nothing. And they are not mainstream customers where bank can easily assess them. So it's a very specific domain where we have created expertise over last 5 years to understand and assess them.
In fact, it's so interesting you say that. One of the things I keep quoting when I go abroad and if I'm talking at an event is that India is so underpenetrated when it comes to finance. I mean, we're a country of 1.3 billion people that only holds something like 40 million credit cards. And case
True.
in point, the US is a country of about 330 million people, and they hold 1.8 billion credit cards, right? Their average is about six credit cards per person that lives in the US. And you compare that
Right.
to India, we're talking about, maybe 20 people sharing a credit card, something like that, right?
True.
But why haven't the banks been able to capitalize on this? I mean, I would imagine that they have all this money and they're big enough and they're supposed to be able to cater to this. Wasn't the NBFCs that were created to cater to this audience? Why aren't they being able to capitalize on this consumer who's, like you're saying, has a 10% debt to income obligation?
Yeah, so that's exactly the reason we started LenDenClub. That banks struggle to give small ticket size loans because they are generally giving loans where the average ticket size is 4 to 5 lakhs. If they go
Okay.
below that transaction size, they don't make any money. They will lose money. Now imagine the loan size on our platform. The average is around 12,500 rupees. They can't even think of giving such kind of loans by using technology. So that's a struggle. So banks struggle when the small ticket size loans are concerned, and majority population of the India falls in the salary bracket, specifically salaried people, between 10,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees.
Hmm.
If we
So
go by
roughly what
income tax
percentage do
data,
you say is in that bracket?
approximately 80-85 percentage people. When we talk about these people, they are salaried. They get minimum wage between 10,000 rupees onwards based on the area where they belongs to. And their requirements are not very huge. See, their requirement is if somebody has got malaria during the monsoon season, the relative or the family member has to be treated, and they need 5, 6, 7,000 rupees to be treated in some government hospital or a small private hospital. They don't require more money, but when they require, the urgency is there. When they require, they need to get through the loan, which is very important. Otherwise, they have to go to private money lenders or some Lala or some Banya, where they have to give equivalent amount within 1 or 2 months time period, which is very bad. So that's the reason bank could not get into this segment. And I believe that is how the new kind of institution gets birth in any kind of ecosystem. And that's how we believe that next 5 to 10 years are going to be with P2P lending, because we are freeing the capital which is available in the ecosystem, which otherwise remain idle. And if we look at banks, majority of their money is still lying in terms of liquidity or in the treasury. So if this money can be given to people, the life can be really beautiful for the people who are looking for small lending, which is their requirement, and it's not just for making any additional purchase or splurge.
No, so it's very interesting you said that. I was reading somewhere recently that almost all bankruptcies, in let's say lower middle class or even in not below the poverty line, but basically the urban poor, right? Or even the rural poor for that matter. Most of them, move from middle class to let's say outside of middle class, primarily because of medical emergencies and they don't have insurance, right? So they have to pay out of their savings and it completely wipes them out. Like if someone has cancer in the family, it can literally wipe out the entire family and they're back to
So
being below middle. It's a very interesting thing that LenDen is able to cater to that audience. Before we get to LenDen, and I know you can talk about LenDen for like the next 2 years, and we would not get this show done. But let's talk about your
sure.
journey though, right? Let's talk about like you started out in a very interesting role where you were securitizing loans and selling them to institutions, and then you became a CEO of a company. So let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about education. Where did you study, and how did you get this role?
Sure. So I did my engineering from a small town in Gujarat, which is Bharuch. Suppose that during engineering, like many children which were of our age that time, so we get pushed by parents that, okay, now you have got good percentage, go for engineering. Now you have got even better percentage, go for medical, etc. So in that way, I also got very much motivated that, yeah, I want to become engineer, and I took admission for the base branch,
By
which
the way,
was
my parents told me
attracting.
now you've graduated, join the business.
Right. So similarly, my parents, both mother and father, both were teacher. Now they are retired. So they wanted me to get really reputable job. However, my mother was always pushing me that if you feel that you want to do something else, you should always look for that. And she has been trying different things during her career as well. So I was always inspired by her. So when I was doing engineering, I really felt that I don't want to move out of India, because after engineering, 80% of my classmates were out of India, which was not my plan. So I thought, what else I do, because I'm not liking the things which I am doing right now. I gave a CAT examination and then went for MBA. I did MBA from Kirloskars. So during MBA as well, there were certain plans and things I kept doing. And post MBA, I landed up in a financial domain. Again, finance was the subject where I used to get the highest marks, but I always wanted to get into a marketing job. But as it is always said that you plan something and you get into something else. But then from the day when I landed in the first job, I started liking finance numbers and the way things happen. And that was a year of destruction, which was 2008, when that Lehman Brothers collapsed and everything happened. So I was laid off from my first job, then again taken back at some much lower salary levels. And a lot of things happened during that year. But the point was, I
I think you
got
got
too
married
much
the same year, I
stress.
believe.
No, around 3 years after that.
Oh, 3 years after that.
So
Okay.
during that period, one very innovative idea came up in my mind, and one of my senior who was working with me that time, that securitization has become very bad word for the world, because that has created this 2008 crisis, Lehman Brothers collapse, so many big investment bankers collapsing. But can we do something innovative out of that? We don't use that securitization process in India very widely. It's very primitive in India. Can we use that? And that led us think around it, came up with a plan, and then I and my friend started the first business, which we ran for around 2.5 years, 3 years, and for
What was
first
it
2 years
called?
it was fantastic. That was called as Span Analytics, where we were helping NBFCs below 100 crores to dream that they can grow the business, and to grow their business they needed raw material, which is money. And we said, we will get you money, we know how to get it, just you explain us what is your business, and rest of the things we used to do. So I have spent many days in a small town like Nagpur, understanding two-wheeler finance, reaching out to their branches and whatnot. I also implemented IT systems for them so that bank can understand, okay, they are doing something great stuff. So great, tremendous,
Bhavin, have
really
you thought
great
about
experience.
fundraising for VC funds? Like, we would love to get some of this kind of help.
Definitely, that can be planned in future. Once I get some time from LenDenClub.
Crowdfunding a VC raise. That would be unique, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so such kind of very unique and innovative structures are possible for different kind of businesses. Only point is somebody needs to think about it and spend at least a year kind of time. So we spent almost a year cracking the first deal, but then it was a very smooth ride. So we got around 5, 6 clients, and it was really good earning business till the time one day RBI changed certain guidelines and we had to change our plans. So that is how I went back to join one of the client company in Pune. I raised almost 250 crores for next 2 years for them. And during that period, LenDenClub plan started, and
That
rest
was
is the
Micro
history.
Capital, is the next company you joined.
Yeah, micro capital.
But what was the biggest learning for you from Span Analytics? I mean, your first outing as a founder.
The biggest learning is nothing can stop you. We didn't have office, we didn't have money, we had nothing. So when our clients started asking questions that how do we believe that you will be able to get me 10 crores, 20 crores, which you are talking about? You are hardly 25 years old kid. How can I believe that you will be able to do it? And these are the people who have been into this business for last 25, 30 years. Oh, everybody was like 50, 60 years old guy. But when you have real passion and you know what you are doing is correct, they ultimately understand. I still remember one meeting when my first client was visiting us in Mumbai. I had arranged some rented space for one day. We had to host him in at that place so that he feels that we understand intricacies
Hmm.
of the business. We hired a cab for a whole day. We arranged all the logistics, and he got convinced that yes, we have capability. He gave us the first job, and we fulfilled that within 3 months. So when you want to do something, when you can get it done. So that's very clear, and that's what we follow at LenDenClub as well.
So if Span was still alive today, right, what do you think it would be doing? What scale would it be at?
Possibly we would have been quite similar to what Vivriti Capital is today, or IFMR Capital. So we were into very similar activities. Their focus was slightly different. They were focusing more on microfinance customers. But eventually, around 3 to 4 years later, when we stopped working at LenDenClub, we realized that they also started going into that direction. The difference was at that point in time, startup was not a boom word. Second, it was very difficult to get monetary support from somebody. We also had a liability, and as you were asking about it, so I also got married during that period when RBI changed the
It's
guidelines.
interesting.
I don't know how they.
I know Rital's watching the show, and I'm very interested in how you said that we talked about liabilities, and then you talked about marriage right after that.
Yeah, true.
I hope
Yeah,
you've had
so
dinner before the show.
yes, I have done that. I have cleaned up dishes as well. So now there is nothing left. So
Atmanirbhar.
Yes, we all have become Atmanirbhar for last some months. Yeah, so that was a period when RBI changed the guidelines, and I was going through some tough time. As I always believe that you have to take life in the way it is coming. You can never stick to a plan that, okay, I want to do this, and then you can do it. Sometimes you have to change the ways, but ultimately you reach wherever you are destined to reach. Just you have to keep doing smart as well as hard work.
And obviously being part of that journey, I mean, the interesting part with LenDen is that, out of my entire portfolio, typically it's been companies where 80% of the time I invest in companies which are a little bit, have some revenues, right? And I remember like we got associated when you were still doing your first loan. We're trying to figure out like how are we going to get this money out. And obviously now we're doing like at the peak, we're doing 7,500 loans a month, right? And to be part of that journey from one loan a month to 7,500 loans a month, it's very rare to see that kind of a journey, right? I definitely see that passion that you have for the space, right? It shows. It shows. I mean, so what drives you though? Like I understand that you really wanted to solve this space. You've been in this space now for coming on almost 11 years, and you're solving this. But what drives you? What is that drive that you bring to LenDen?
So the biggest motivation for me is India needs one more type of lending institution or more way of lending money, which has to be successful over next 10 years. 5 years, we have done a lot of base work. Now, P2P lending is understood by at least couple of percentage of people of India, which is not very small number. At least 2-3 crores people at least understand what is P2P. But a lot of more work has to happen. So that is more on the overall ecosystem of P2P lending. And anybody talks about we are at 10-15% of household debt. China is at 35-40% of household debt. US is at 55% of household debt, and we will reach there in next 5 years, 10 years. Those are just talks. Somebody has to get into it and get it executed. Do you believe that the banking system will be able to do that? I believe that it will not be able to, because banks have been there for last 30-40 years. They couldn't do it. Since last 20 years, they have been trying to penetrate financial services in very big way. How many rural areas or semi-urban areas they could reach to? Second is the NBFC. NBFCs are dependent on banking system. So the complete ecosystem needs a revolutionized way of freeing up the money which is lying idle in the ecosystem and get it to somebody else. And that is how the overall economy will get benefit of bringing this lending to mainstream ecosystem, which is otherwise happening in cash at very minuscule level. But we have this opportunity to change that future for country, for people of India, and for people who are depriving for capital in next 5 to 10 years. And that is what motivates me. We have an opportunity to change this system. We have an opportunity to establish ourselves in next 5 years to 10 years time period.
And like you said, you're looking at impacting 85% of the salaried class out there that is completely out of the credit system. They might have a bank account, but they don't really have any credit to.
Absolutely, it's very difficult.
Yeah, no, I mean I can understand, but you also said that the banks can't make money below 5 lakh rupee loan. So how are you making money at that? Like, what's your secret sauce?
So secret is nothing like boost or something, which we see in the ads. But it is very simple that you have a focus. So our focus in business is on two things. One is always ensure that the investors which are lending money to the borrowers get adequate returns. If they get it, the capital flow remains in the system. So with God's grace, we were always capital efficient, and that is how we could deliver all these loans starting from minutes to 24 hours. Second focus is technology. Technology is very, very important. I see that many big companies spend crores of money. When a bank starts, it starts with around 500 crores, 600 crores budget for technology part. But that technology is more focused on a compliance part, more focused only on the operational part. Who thinks that, which banks thinks that I want to bring borrowers or I want to bring depositors from a rural area only using technology? None of them. We thought about that and we started working on each and every part, even how a user will create a loan account on the platform, how we will assess them, how you verify their income level, how you understand their behavioral pattern, how will you be able to come up with an algorithm which will tell you whether to select this borrower and whether not to select this borrower. So all those parts required a lot of focus. And it's not only job by one person. It is not only a focus of one person. The whole team, entire ecosystem of the company has to drive towards that. And we couldn't reach that overnight, right? As you rightly mentioned, when you joined the journey, we were like 1-2 loans a month. So that time we were thinking we need to reach here. Somehow we have to reach there. We never knew that ENSCH will come. We never knew e-mandate will come. But we were always knowing that some or the other thing will come, and we have to keep adding those things to my lending ecosystem and make it more efficient. If I talk about a year back, we used to take 2 to 3 days to send money to borrower's account. Today it is less than 24 hours. Tomorrow it will be some minutes, and then it could be on a real-time basis. That is what we are working on.
So, I mean, when you say real-time
Technology
basis, you're saying
focus.
like you get credit assessed, get matched to lenders. Lenders send money immediately, and you get funded in a matter of, when you're saying literally real time.
Almost real time, absolutely. So
Wow.
we are right now working on some algorithm where we can do assessment of the borrower on a real time basis and give result immediately while borrower is accessing the app itself. So that's what we are working on it. So maybe another 3 to 6 months, we should be able to reach that destination. Once we reach there, the real time disbursement dream may get fulfilled.
But Bhavin, you've had issues with RBI before, right? And with the whole regulation that the fintech, especially your fintech space has, right? And yet you chose an area that is going to be heavily regulated by the RBI. Did you ever think like, maybe I should do something easier? Like, why don't I open up like a Flipkart or something? Like, wouldn't that just be easier than opening up a company that's going to get, RBI's oversight at all times?
So a straight answer, I never thought about it but my wife did think about it. So when I was about to start LenDenClub, she was really not happy because of this reason that you already had a problem in the previous stint. Now again, you are getting into the same direction. So I said, hey, look, I know it's difficult. I don't know whether RBI will regulate P2P lending or they will ban like what Japan does. But I believe in one thing that if it is a good thing for the market, for the country, eventually everybody will recognize that and they will also come up with some kind of regulation to regulate that. And probably this time I may not face a problem, but I'm still not sure whether it will happen or not. It's something, unknown. However, eventually after 2-3 years, RBI came up with that. But I never had that thought that if this will happen, what I will be doing. So I don't know whether you remember that or not, but in very initial discussion, which we might have, you had asked one question that, Bhavin, what is your plan B? I said, there is no plan B. It
It's
is
only
only
plan
plan
A.
A. If it doesn't work, we will think that. Otherwise, we will always go back to plan B because it will be always easier way to do it, right? So it was always
I,
plan A.
I think more than the words that more than the words, it was the confidence. Because I mean, I remember when you said, you're just like, there's plan B. There's no plan B. There's only plan A, and we're gonna make this thing happen. And I really was glad. I think obviously RBI has come around and things have gotten a lot easier. I think RBI has been very accommodative of P2P lending at this point. But it was difficult raising money, especially for you, right? If I remember the first round,
Absolutely.
it took a lot of effort. I led the round. You got your first 75 odd lakhs with VCAT's help. But what was that like? Can you
Yeah.
go through the experience, like raising money in a heavily regulated area, convincing people that, you're going to get regulation, you're going to be ready for it, and then being able to raise the money and do business? What was that like?
Yeah, it was interesting time. I think I spent almost 6 months doing that. I had a support of Mitesh. I worked with Mitesh, and then he
Nitesh
became
from
the
Book My
first
Show.
funder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitesh from Book My Show. He said, okay, Bhavin, I can give you 12-15 lakh rupees. You can start business with. I said, I don't want salary. That's absolutely okay. I know next 12 months to 18 months are going to difficult, but I need at least 12-15 lakhs to run the business. So he funded that. And then I started looking for fund to start the initial team building and
Hmm.
start the initial operations, technology building and all. I spent almost 6 months on that. So during that time, I think I must have heard at least 30-40 no's. And there are certain strange proposals as well. One guy sitting in Singapore, Indian guy, NRI, gave us a proposal that you come to Singapore, do the same thing. I will give you and Deepesh $5,000 salary, and I'll also give you 5% ESOP each. But you have to come here and do that. So I shared the plan with
With
Deepesh,
the wife, I'm
and
guessing.
no, I and Deepesh. He was asking me and
So
Deepesh to
Rita
go
stays in
there.
India and you're going to be in Singapore.
That was the proposal.
I hope you're not. I hope you're preparing breakfast tomorrow morning too, right?
I feel so now. So there were certain weird proposition. Then somebody wanted 50% of the company and all. I said, boss, I don't know how this venture will end up into. But one thing I know that P2P lending is going to stay there in India because India is a credit depriving country. And I was very much assured about. So after 30, 40 no's, I reached to VCAT, and VCAT was in some under construction building. When I first time reached there, I saw Purva, and then he hardly heard me for 3, 4 minutes. And he said, okay, go now. I said, okay. I went up, and then I got a call from Rajesh. Then we prepared presentation just on one day before the pitch session. We presented in front of 100 people, and then I reached out to each and every person, at least tried to convince them that, it's something which is going to be really big. Think about HDFC Bank was coming to you in mid 80s or early 90s and asking for money, but you were not convinced that "Arey, ye kaise hoga?" So we did all kind of things, and ultimately we could close that.
And like they say, the first round was the toughest. I guess the second round was much easier. Follow-on round, we again, I think a bunch of our LPs and us, we led the round, closed it. I think it was pretty quick, end to end.
Right.
But what was
Absolutely.
that?
So
Was it easier?
yeah.
What was easier about raising a second round versus the first round?
Yes, it was comparatively easier with two factors. One was RBI already published a white paper. So a lot of people started thinking into a direction that there could be regulation around this, and RBI is willing to do that. Second, you have much better direction, and you could show some kind of execution capability. That by that time we were a team of around 15 people. We are doing certain numbers, growing month over month. Again, we were unit positive. So all those
What was the
metrics
growth rate
were
at the
very.
time? Do you remember?
We were doing around 20-25 percentage month over month growth. Again, the focus was only on two cities, Mumbai and Pune. Still, we were able to grow at that rate. So I think those numbers were also building up. Then the confidence in the sector also built up. It also helps when you already have some investors or shareholders which are external party and talking about the company that it is doing good because these KPIs are looking good. So that adds a lot of confidence to people who wants to join the journey.
I do see the point, especially in the fintech space. When you have investors backing you, it does lead to a lot more confidence for follow-on investors to come on board. Before we get into the next section, which is you meeting the page and how all of that happened, let's take a couple of these audience questions we've got. Question I have from Techno Girl: is there anything that you offer for startups trying to scale up? Do you offer any startup loans?
So we don't offer loan, but if your product is somewhere nearby to what LenDenClub does, we can help you with the know-how, business understanding, or from the technology and a product side. So we have got really good team. They will help you out with certain kind of bandwidth out of their work on what can be done. But we don't provide loans to startup.
So hopefully technical that answers your question. Do you have a max ticket size for borrowing?
Maximum amount we give is 5 lakh rupees. However, 95% plus borrowers take loan between 5,000 rupees to 15,000 rupees, which is a very short term and fast.
Have you ever given a loan above up to 5 lakhs?
Yeah, we have given some number of loans.
And one question that there's from Vishal Kumar Vagela is, how much is UPI helpful? Has UPI been helpful for you?
Yes, so UPI helps us in terms of repayment of EMIs by the borrowers, and it also helps the investors to transfer money on a real-time basis on the platform. Previously, it was payment gateways or investor has to transfer using NEFT or IMPS, which takes time. There were certain system issues and all, but UPI is fantastic. It's one of the best thing which has happened in Indian payment industry, and still it is growing. So yes, it's very much helpful.
Let's talk about Dipesh, right? How did you meet Dipesh? How did you rope him in, and how did this whole thing get together?
Yeah, so that's also one very interesting story that. So I have been a football player since I was 10 years old. I never left football till date. So till the lockdown started, I play on every Sunday morning 6 to 7:30, so that it doesn't affect the family life as well as any kind of work, which can be followed by meetings or anything else. So Dipesh and I used to play football together. So when I started looking for co-founder, when I was at the ideation stage, I reached out to all possible websites or networks, and WhatsApp was one of those network group. So I posted on many of my professional WhatsApp groups. But unfortunately, I couldn't find even single guy be partner to me. So I met or I dated with almost 5, 6 possible co-founder candidates for 2, 3, 4, 5 number of meetings. And you won't believe one guy even fought with one of my friend who was from a technology domain because I don't understand technology. So he said, we will use this technology. And my friend was pitching something else. I don't know what they were discussing about. But he was like, they both started fighting over the call. And after he finished the call, he said, I don't think I'll be able to be a right partner with you. I don't know why, what he discussed with him. But that is a kind of situation which was happening. Then I was thinking what to be done. So I started sending that same message to all WhatsApp groups, whatever kind of casual groups. And I sent it to football group as well. And that's how Deepesh responded. He was just coming out of his previous co-founded product, and he was also looking for the next challenge. So I said, why not? And I always prefer, even when I hire, I always look for people who have played individual as well as team games. And I always feel that they have a different kind of team spirit, that never leave kind of attitude. So then I and Dipesh met a couple of times. I understood what he has done. Then we worked for almost 5, 6 months before we ultimately decided, okay, let's be co-founders and start doing it.
The most interesting part about this story is how similar this story is to Agni Cool story a couple of weeks ago. So it seems like if you want to find a co-founder, you should play a team sport and then look around who's playing on the team, right? Because you might find your co-founder right there. Because what I remember is Srinath found his co-founder, Moin, on the same cricket team, right? And obviously you found your co-founder playing football. So if there's any founders out there and they really want to find a co-founder, join the sport, right? And make sure it's a team sport.
Absolutely.
So don't join chess. There's only 2 people there, right? But join maybe a team sport, and that's the best way to find a co-founder. So what's it been like? Obviously you convinced him to come on board. He's Dipesh now runs a pretty sizable tech team. In fact, you've also brought him on board and made him a bit of a business guy, right? And I noticed on the calls he's now talking business as well. But how has that relationship matured over the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, so we saw a lot of ups and downs in between. You have witnessed some of those. So it's not always what it looks like, right? So a journey looks successful from one angle. Okay, we became like 1-2 loans per month to 7,500 loans. But behind that, there were many ups and downs which has gone. And there were tough times that you don't have money to pay rent, you don't have money to release the salaries, or there are certain really aggressive discussions on certain business decisions where you have to close things and there is no time. But one thing was very clear, that since the day we started working together, even before we became co-founders, from a very first day, the tuning was very clear. That even before becoming co-founder with me, Dipesh had spent a lot of sleepless nights to run our platform that point in time, which was developed by some third party. And since that day, neither I nor Dipesh has found any kind of issues working between both of us. The terms are very clear that whatever comes, we don't have choice, right? It is we are only the guy who has to address that problem and bring up the solution. So his approach was also very clear from the first day. And I think sometimes as a person, I become very aggressive, but he's always a cool. So, it's a combination that one guy is very aggressive, but the other guy is always cool. And he knows that, something went wrong because of some issues and I'll get it sorted. So it has been always a cool journey because of different kind of nature between both of us. And he also co-founded a product before. So he knew some of those struggles. So I never had to explain that, this kind of situation arises or this happens. I had experience running a startup and doing whatnot, but he did not have exactly same experience, but he knew what it will be behind this journey.
So you completed two significant milestones in the last, I think, 30 days, and especially during the lockdown. So what are those 2 milestones? Maybe you could tell the audience.
We completed 5 years of operations of LenDenClub. And the second is we completed disbursement of 100 odd crores through our platform.
100 crores. So people joining in from South Africa and from other countries, that's about $18 million has been dispersed through the platform on a P2P format in India, which is, a significant number because, again, these are very small ticket loans. and India is still warming up to the P2P space, but that's a really interesting number. But in 5 years, in 5 years of your history, Bhavin, what was the most critical moments? If you had to pick out, like, say, three critical moments in your history, what would those three moments be?
So accepting the term sheet of VCAT, which was our seed round. Second, to get Dipesh on board. Third is decision to start our InstaMoney product.
Let's talk about InstaMoney.
We
How did that
changed
idea
the
come about? Because you guys were doing personal loans, and then suddenly, I mean, I realized in the numbers are like, what the heck is this new thing you guys are doing? And next thing you know, the whole company is just doing just that, and we stopped doing personal
yeah.
loans. So what is InstaMoney?
So InstaMoney idea came from one of our teammates who joined a couple of months back at that point in time, and he switched from digital marketing kind of person, web designer kind of person to a product, and he was very enthusiastic, and we wanted a product manager, so we hired him, and we said, okay, whatever you think or you plan, let's discuss that. So he came up with an idea that the product which we are currently selling has limit and too much of competition from bank and NBFC. We are unnecessarily getting into it. There are better options available. And then the idea started. Then we looked at our borrower data. We had around 10,000 odd loans that point in time. We looked at the data and we found that none of the borrower had such kind of loans. And we also checked the rejected borrower data. People were rejected because they were looking for a higher loan and they were not qualifying under the income criteria or something. We were rejecting them. And that was a moment, yeah, let's do it. So there were a couple of competitors which launched similar product eventually, which was slight bigger ticket size, but the concept was similar. Our thought was before that, and we were glad that within 1 month in India, there were 3 platforms which launched the similar kind of product. We were the one who launched between 5,000 to 15,000 and a couple of others who launched between 25,000 to 1 lakh rupees. So idea came from such a new teammate, and then he was given a freedom that come up with idea, pitch it to us. We will play like devil's advocate, and then we strengthen that point whether we should go for this or not. And within a couple of months, we launched that. So that's how it came and then became the mainstream product.
But it seems like there's, like you said, there was a lot of data capturing also happening, that you could back test that idea and figure out whether InstaMoney would work or not.
Absolutely. So we don't do any decision making without data. Unless we don't have any kind of data, then we talk about going by feeling or the gut feeling. Otherwise, never. And that has become attitude of each member in LenDenClub now.
Wow. You've talked about 2 more moments in our private chats, that you've talked about demonetization and the effect it had on your business, and then obviously the pandemic and the lockdown, right? Which has been, so what was the effect of demon on your business?
During the demonetization period for almost 2 to 3 months, there was almost nil activity on our platform on both sides. Borrowers were also confused because they were not getting salaries from a lot of companies, because companies' money circulation got at halt. And on the investor side also, we started seeing a result that people are not bringing in capital because their money which they were expecting is also not coming up. We got n number of proposals that can you take cash? We are okay even if we get 0 returns for next 2 years, next 5 years, we are absolutely okay. So that kind of weird proposals were coming up to us. But the point was very clear. We were not there for short-term business. So ecosystem has to be very clear, transparent, and as per the regulation or future regulation. But it was the first break which we saw during those 2 to 3 months. And we realized that, okay, we are at such a small stage and we face this. If we were at 100 times scale of this, what could have been the impact? And that is how our push for technology become even more. And that is how our push for the smaller product become more prominent. Because here the criteria are different, the assessment policies are different.
Yeah, sorry. Then we talk about the pandemic, right? And you were high flying and then slammed, right?
All right.
Back down to like looking at whole, I haven't seen these numbers in 2-3 years, right? And what was that moment like? Like, suddenly having 100% company, a brand new office, and next thing you know, we're virtual.
True. Absolutely. So you would believe my team was so happy when we shifted to new place in January, because the previous place had capacity of around 30-35 people, and we were almost 65, 75 people sitting in that office in very clumsy place and all for almost 3, 4 months. So they were so happy, and this pandemic came and everybody had to go back to homes. So the first all team call which I took after 10 days of lockdown, most probably before end of March, and everybody was like, sir, ये 3 week में खत्म हो जाएगा ना, we want to come back to office. It's very boring being at home and all. But that was a reality. I was not sure. So, but I had to motivate them. So whatever we discussed, but it could not happen till date. Still, only leadership team comes to office. But whatever plans we had, it got impacted. And I think a lot of those things delayed by a couple of quarters. However, it is always said that when you lose an opportunity, some bigger opportunity is waiting for you. So we could utilize that time period in bringing the team together, spending a lot of time together discussing, brainstorming and all. That was my personal realization as well, that when you are running behind the business numbers, which you have to chase, because you have to scale up the numbers and all, a lot of time, some good opportunities are being missed out. And not only by me, but a lot of other team members as well. But when this pandemic came, suddenly the flow was like almost 40% of what we were doing normal. We realized that we had so much of time. Let's spend this time together. And we started Corona opportunity kind of group, and we started spending 3, 4 hours 2, 3 times a week. We created Corona crisis group. We started spending some hours on a weekly basis on that group. I created a couple of more groups. The motive behind that was if somebody will sit idle, they will start becoming blunt, or they will start losing the edge. That was first issue. Second issue is it's a fast moving world, right? You cannot lose edge of working between the team members. If that happens, and let's say if your team is not in tune for 6 months, believe me, it will take another 6 months for everybody to get into tuning position with each other. So I did not want to bear that problem, because the execution can be done by executive team, but the leadership team has to keep thinking bigger, that okay, if pandemic has came, it has brought down us to by 50%, but when it is over, we'll go up by 200%. So that thought has to remain in the mind, and what else right now we can do. So a lot of idea came up. As I said, that the InstaMoney idea came from a very new guy who joined us 2, 3 months back. Similarly, lot more new ideas came up. New revenue streams were identified. New products were identified. And now, right now, we are in the phase where we are defining a complete new tomorrow for LenDenClub after December. So always, I always feel that, the people who are working in the company has to be empowered, and they have to feel that, okay, yes, we are doing something great. Even if they have to lose that 30% of the salary, they should not feel pain of that. So I know it is very difficult situation. And when somebody has to reduce the salary from my side, when I have to propose it, or their side, when they have to accept it, it's very difficult. But believe me, none of my leadership team ever raise question on that. They know that whenever situation will be normal, we'll be going in a much better way. And I think we are very soon reaching to the new normal, and maybe we'll be back to our previous good numbers very soon.
So Bhavin, thank you so much. I think while we can go on and talk, unfortunately, Instagram cuts us off at 1 hour. So we have to move on to rapid fire, which is why the viewership numbers always start trending up towards the end of the hour. I think they're looking forward to what kind of answers founders are going to give when they don't know what's going to be asked, right? So
Sure.
I'll tell you the rules are very simple. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, rapid fire. All right.
Sure.
You've got to answer the first thing that comes to your mind. And if there's an interesting answer or something, or something we can get delve deeper into, we'll do that. But we roughly have about 7-8 minutes before we get cut off. All right. So
Sure.
Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Ready.
So here we go. So rapid fire question 1. One piece of advice that you received on entrepreneurship that you still follow.
So keep your eyes and ears open wherever you go.
Who gave that advice?
My first boss.
Good. Your biggest advice to founders about fundraising?
Don't get humiliated when somebody says no. It's a part of your journey. You are going to listen to that no so many more times. When I joined my first job, I listened to almost 13 no's before I got the first offer. Similarly, I listened to 30, 40 no's before I got the first check. So it's obviously no, expect no. When you get yes, it's amazing.
You need the no's to appreciate the yeses, right? Ask a door-to-door salesperson
Absolutely.
like myself.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Peter Thiel question. One thing that you know to be true, but very few people agree with you on it. And we're talking obviously about your business.
That P2P is the future.
You know that? Oh, wow. You, see, that's the confidence that you said that plan A, plan B stuff with. That's how you raise money. So good. In order of importance to you, right? Team, founder, customers, investors. Just place them in order of importance. Most important first and least important last.
Customers, team, investors, founders.
Why customers first and not team?
Because they are the one who runs the business. The team is the people who works for them. So they are the first party who should get benefit. So even during the COVID period, we had very clearly mentioned our priorities. So the first priority was investors' money. Investor means lenders who are giving money through the platform. Second was the company. Third was the team, and fourth was the
So you,
shareholders.
you consider lenders to be your customers and not the borrowers in that case.
Because of the pandemic situation, otherwise both of them are the highest level priority for the business.
What is one thing you think investors should bring to the table other than the money?
Other than money, investor needs to help the founders or the team which is running the business with a right perspective, that if they have to establish a business, just go away from the clumsy dream or some kind of thought process which is going on at their end. They need to make them realize, if they don't understand, that what is real business and how the company can become grow. I mean, realistic approach, to be specific in one word.
Building the wealth of experience is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Which is not there with the founders, if it is.
So this is the first time I'm saying this question ever. So it says take your pick, right? Scaling before profitability or profitability before scaling?
Profitability before scaling.
Spoken like a true Bania businessman.
You know
But
that
many people
well.
would say scaling before profitability. Why do you put it the other way around?
Because if you have a profitability, scale will come at the end of the day. It's always a matter of some time. But if you scale without profitability, it's a question mark on the business itself. Someday you will be out of money in your pocket and you have to close down the business. It's not important to scale the business. It's important to be the business and change the problem or solve the problem which you have picked up. So our priority is very clear that problem has to be solved. Scale will always come. It is going to follow.
Good answer, by the way. Really good answer. I also
Thank you.
believe profitability before scaling. One thing you would like to change about the Indian startup ecosystem?
The entrepreneurship courses should be inducted maybe from secondary schools, and that will give a good idea to the budding entrepreneurs that what it is about, what kind of problems they face. They need to have certain chapters about failed startups, successful startups, so that those dreams start being built from at the schooling level itself. When I visited China, I tried to understand what changed the Chinese startup ecosystem. And this was one of the very basic difference which happened, that they started pushing courses at school level. They started pushing entrepreneurship in college level. So that's one. Second is right guidance. So today also I see many times many founders have good ideas, good product, good thought process, good intentions, but they don't know how to proceed forward. Because many times when you go to events and you talk to many startup groups and all, you only hear about the fundraising, fundraising, fundraising. And that becomes a misleading thing in their mind. And they believe that if fundraising has not happened, I need to close down the startups or my company, which I feel is a really wrong picture about the startup. It's not only the fundraising, there are many things which can happen. It will happen. It may happen today or 6 months later. But your dream, your startup, your idea is much more important than getting somebody's 25 lakh, 50 lakh check. So that mindset has to get changed.
It's such an amazing thing you've just said, and you know, I hope the team really puts this forward to the Prime Minister, that introduce entrepreneurship as a discipline very early in a child's education, because moving forward, you know, specialization is not going to be the key. It's going to be entrepreneurship that is going to really solve the job crisis that the world is going to face eventually.
You have been
But
in US, right? So US must be having similar kind of ecosystem,
yeah, but
right?
again, I think entrepreneurship also comes pretty late over there, right? But the culture is entrepreneurial from day one, right? They
Correct.
sell
Right.
cookies door to door when they're kids. They sell lemonade at the street.
Correct.
Besides your startup, what is one thing you're obsessed with right now?
I can't think of anything else. But one thing which
Wow,
I'm
that
missing
was,
for
that was
last
a
five
really good
months is
answer.
last 5 months I have been missing is football. So second thing after I spoke about nothing is coming out in my mind is a football.
But somebody asked, what's your favorite football team? Or the one you support, I guess.
Menu.
Manu. Okay. So I guess you get your answer. Last question. What is something most people would be surprised to find out about you?
My data focus. Even sometimes my wife, because she also works in LenDenClub, she also gets frustrated
Do
that
you have a
what
chart
kind of
which has
data
so
you
many
know?
dates this month and
Sorry?
what was this? Do you have like we had budgeted 4 dates this month and you're at 6 right now and need to
You can say that sort of, but not at home. I have stopped doing that because that really spoils the family life. But in office, I'm really obsessed with any decision. Anybody ask me any question, I immediately shoot out two more questions. What is this data? What is this data? What is this data? And if person doesn't know, I ask, he boss, bring this data, then we will discuss about it.
Good. So, Bhavin, thank you so much for your time. We've ended the show with a great thought. And, I really appreciate, your answer on that, the fact that entrepreneurship should come much earlier in the education system. I really appreciate that. That's a great thought. And I hope, I hopefully will be able to write about that and at least get some more visibility to that. Any ending thoughts from your side?
Thanks for inviting, Anirudh. The ending thought will be entrepreneurship is difficult. It's not very easy. There are many sacrifices you do, but those are not sacrifices. Those were anyways going to happen if you were doing your normal job or you will not get into entrepreneurship, right? It's only thing, whatever you do, you start enjoying that thing. And that's what keep motivating me as well as Dipesh. That whatever you do, whatever bigger, smaller problem or solution you are building upon, just get involved into it and just keeping enjoying that moment. Whether we play football that time, we forget about the company. If we are sitting in a bar, we forget about the company. When we are sitting in the office, we forget about anything else. So
Wow.
it's about enjoying that moment. Think about that perspective. The moment you have left office and next 2 hours you have to spend with wife, just don't talk anything about the business, specifically when your wife is working with you. Otherwise, you'll be killed.
Thanks a lot. I hopefully you'll be able to make breakfast tomorrow morning for how much you've said today. And thank you so much, Bhavin. Really
I have
appreciate
planned for it.
it.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time, next week, 9 p.m. on Thursday. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Good night.